last thoughts or pieces of advice you'd like to give for, those listening that are interested in potentially, going down the same path that you already went?
Yeah, so my advice to everyone who's listening is always have a never quit attitude. Um, Throughout the entire process, whether you're applying to SAMs or thinking about applying to SAMs, or even as you're going throughout your military career, always have an attitude of I will never quit.
Welcome back to Leaders Recon. I'm your host, Joshua Carr, and today we're talking with Major O'Connell about SAMs. But before we dive into the School of Advanced Military Studies, did I get that right? I want to talk a little bit about you. Obviously, you're a SAMs grad. What's an interesting fact about you before we dive into SAMs?
Well, an interesting fact about me is when I'm not wearing the uniform, working on plans and strategy in my civilian life, I'm a musician.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I play a handful of instruments from the trumpet to piano to guitar and bass. And throughout my life, I played in about 9 different bands, I
Oh,
think,
wow.
with styles ranging from rock to punk to heavy metal to everything in between.
Are you
So,
playing in a band right now?
unfortunately, no,
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 okay, I was
I
gonna
don't
say.
have the time. But if anyone out there is listening and would like to jam, yeah, just please hit me up.
Solid. So as we talk about SAMs a little bit, we talked a little bit before the podcast about, the couple different programs that kind of are tiered related to this military studies. Can you give us an overview of what those programs are?
Yes, so SAMS, the School of Advanced Military Studies, includes 3 different programs. So the most common one is the Advanced Military Studies program. So that's typically known as the Majors program.
Okay.
It's completed after majors complete their Command General Staff Officer course or their equivalent intermediate level education. The second is its Advanced Strategic Leadership Studies program, which is the Senior Service College course. That one is attended by promotable lieutenant colonels and colonels.
Okay.
And then the third one is the Advanced Strategic Planning and Policy program. This one is a Chief of Staff of the Army sponsored program, which is open to majors all the way through colonels, and is a 3-year program in which students study for a PhD. They'll spend some time at Fort Leavenworth, and then we'll spend some time teaching at a civilian university.
Oh, wow.
We'll earn a PhD, and then we'll serve at Office of Secretary of Defense or an equivalent strategic assignment.
Wow. So for that last program, just a little bit of fun facts. Is there a specific university that students work through, or is it different universities, or what do you know about that?
It's various universities.
Okay.
The selection of universities really varies year to year,
Okay.
and based on what the student is also studying. So I've known some students who have gone to Duke University. Others have gone all the way out to the West Coast.
Oh, wow.
But really depends on the students and then their program of study.
Nice. So you're a SAMS graduate. What was it that really interested you in the program when you were going through the application process, like to get involved and attend the course?
So I think something that really interested me about the program was just the quality of leaders that I saw who graduated from the program that I worked with throughout my military career. So I was stationed in Europe with 4th Infantry Division in the Mission Command element, where we supported the European Reassurance Initiative and Atlantic Resolve. This was shortly after the crisis in Crimea occurred between Ukraine and Russia, and U.S. European Command was building its forces again on a rotational basis to deter Russia from going any further into Europe. So that was my first job as a major, and my first job at the division level. And from there, I worked with several officers who had graduated from SAMs. One of the first ones I met was an officer named Jacob Duplesky. He's a lieutenant colonel, took command of 410 Cav with 4th Infantry Division, but he was more than just a planner. He was also a very driven leader. He knew how to assemble a team and inspire and motivate his peers to take action and to develop division level plans. And that really played out as we started bringing more units into Europe. From there, I met more and more SAMS grads, both in the regular Army and the National Guard. And I was just very impressed by not only their planning and intelligence abilities, but also just their skills as a leader and their leadership
Really.
styles.
Now, what would you say then was like the selling point, coming out of it? Like, what's the selling point for why I, as a mid-level captain, eventually will get to that major level, hopefully, like, why should I be interested in attending SAMs? Like, what's the value add for soldiers coming out of the program from your point of view?
I think the value add overall is it gives you a broader context of just the operations that the U.S. military participates in
Okay.
as part of not just the national defense enterprise, but just like with the political piece, with the economic piece as well. It just gives you a broader context of the profession, and then just the quality of people that you work with. Every SAMS grad who I've worked with is just they're just solid leaders and solid officers, and having that network of professionals in which you can always call to if you need help, if you need support, and if you're working on a mission. You always have that network accessible to you through SAMS. So just the depth of knowledge, and then just the broader context that you earn or that you develop through the education there is a huge selling point, I think.
So you mentioned ILE, after ILE or after CGSC. When should an officer look to start putting their packet together? Is it pretty competitive to get into SAMs? What does that look like?
I will say it's very competitive.
Okay.
It's very competitive to get into SAMs. On an annual basis, you'll see anywhere from 400 candidates across not just the Army, but from the other services, as well as some of the international militaries, and then some interagency partners will apply to SAMs. And the number of seats is all based on what the Army can pay for, really.
Okay.
So the school has grown in size since it first started. It's been as big as 144 students. Now it's scaled back a little bit to just under 100 seats now. But the competitive, the population that competes for those seats is really at the top of their game from whatever organization they come from. You're talking about officers and leaders who have been the top performers in their units. They've had the key developmental positions throughout their careers, and they're looked at by senior leaders as the hard chargers. So that's really what makes it very competitive. So it's not just intelligence space. It's not just how much you know. It's also how well you work with others, how connected you are, and physical fitness is also a part of it as well. Because as you get through SAMs and you graduate and then go on to your utilization tour assignment, you will be expected to also be able to lead those soldiers not only at the operational level, but at the tactical level later on in your career.
So you just mentioned something about utilization assignment. Can you expound on that? So after SAMs, you have a utilization tour, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so when you graduate from SAMs, you're required to complete a utilization assignment to really essentially apply what you've learned through the course at the operational level.
Okay.
And for most officers in the Army, that will require a utilization at a division level staff.
Okay.
So a division staff position, usually in their plan shop at the G5.
Is that like a 1-year tour or a 2-year tour, or what is that?
It's typically 1 year long.
Okay.
It can be up to 2 years long based on whatever your career situation is. But typically it's 1 year long, and the preferred route is at a division staff or a corps level staff. Some officers also serve at Army Service Component Commands, and then other officers also serve at Army commands such as FORCECOM or TRADOC. But the intent of the utilization tour is to apply what you've learned in your education and your skills at the operational level.
And what kind of assignments are those typically? Is that in the plan section, like G5 type work, or what?
Yes, yeah. Typically, they are in the plan section of the staff. So, for example, for me, I served in the 36th Infantry Division with the Texas National Guard in Operation Spartan Shield as the Deputy G5. So I was the strategic planner in that 5 shop with one of my colleagues, Lieutenant Colonel Colleen Shepard, who's also in my class at SAMS. She graduated same year, and is now currently commanding the headquarters battalion here at Temple Army National Guard Readiness Center.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but so we deployed together and served our utilization tour with 36ID, leading the Spartan Shield mission there. And that was unique because we were directly embedded with the Theater Army, 3rd Army, U.S. Army Central, who command and controlled the Army forces in the Middle East. And in a lot of times, our division headquarters had to do a lot of things at the Theater Army level, which we didn't train for prior, but we were in the position, we were in the area of responsibility, and we needed to form plans and execute those plans.
And how do you feel like SAM's prepared you for taking on that kind of unique role?
So I think SAM's prepared me in that it's back to the idea of context and understanding the broader picture. SAM's really helped me to understand what was going on across the entire theater of operations. Prior to working in that position, a lot of the different duty assignments I had were very much focused on very specific tactical missions. I've been a logistician for most of my career, and so a lot of my my missions that I conducted with those units were very focused on set timelines with sets of tactical mission tasks, whereas this was very much broad and open-ended, and we really had to understand the operational level plans, the operational campaign plans, and even the national level strategy to understand what senior leaders at the national level, the strategic level, and the operational level wanted to achieve in the Middle East, and we were the unit of employment to execute those actions there. One of the most challenging experiences that I had was right before I left, involved the withdrawal of civilians from Afghanistan.
Oh, really?
So this was at the time that was building up to when U.S. forces were withdrawing completely from Afghanistan.
So you were right in the thick of that.
I was, yes, yeah. I was not directly involved with the actual flights of civilians out of Afghanistan, so the actual withdrawal piece, as it started to really climax in the August timeframe. But I was part of the planning group that laid a lot of the foundation for receiving those Afghan civilians in Qatar, as well as in Kuwait and other places.
Really? So, you had some really unique experiences coming out of SAM. So, like, backtrack it a little bit. I think we might have touched on this briefly, but you were saying, like, about what point in time in an officer's career do they need to get their packet together if they're interested in going? And then I kind of want to talk about, like, what SAM's looks like throughout the program. But when you said that was post-ILE, but are you applying for that as you're going into ILE or CGSC, or are you doing that afterwards, or what does that look like typically?
So my best recommendation for preparing for SAMs is really to begin even before you become a major.
Okay.
So the target period to really start your preparation is when you've completed your captain's career course, and preferably when you've after you've completed company command or an equivalent key developmental assignment in your branch. That's the best time to really get your feet under you and start studying some of the higher level tactical and operational doctrine, which you'll be expected to know as you apply to SAMs. So as a senior captain, start forming your plan for what you intend to do for your intermediate level education, whether you go to resident CGSOC or you decide to do satellite or distance learning. And then from there, you'll also be laying the groundwork for preparing for SAMs.
Okay.
So the application process takes place each year on an annual basis, and the announcement will come out usually July of each calendar year for the next academic year.
Okay.
So it's
about 12 months out-ish.
Right. Yeah. So you'll get Human Resources Command will publish the MILPER message on the HRC website. That will have the instructions for applying to the next academic year. So the next one will be the next MILPER message should be released by July of 2022, and then that will have the instructions for applying for academic year 23. So the window for applying for National Guardsmen specifically is around August and September. That's when you'll submit your application on the U.S. Army Combined Arms Center website.
Okay.
And then from there, you'll get a slot for the standardized test that you'll have to take. The test includes some sections on history, joint and Army doctrine, geography, geopolitics, some current events, some tactical symbology, and then there's going to be an essay requirement there as well.
So do you have any recommendations for prepping for that exam?
Yes, so I would recommend to prep for the exam, start with studying the foundational Army doctrine.
Okay.
So that starts with Army Doctrinal Publication number 1, which is the Army. And then from there, move on to ADP 3-0, which is operations. From there, then move over to the corresponding field manuals. So for ADP, the corresponding one would be FM 3-0, which is also operations. So start with the doctrine, and then from there move on to the ones that are specific to your branch, whether you be field artillery or logistics. There's
is the test specific to your branch, or how does that work?
No, the test is it really covers the capstone doctrine, which is ADP 3.0 operations. Okay. So the bulk of the questions will reference things that you'll be expected to know going into SAMs at the start of the course.
So then you mentioned the application pool then. So like you're putting your application, you go through this exam, you said maybe 400 people. Is that just open, like they take the top 100 folks, whether it's Guard or Reserve or active component, or is it built out by, the Guard gets so many quotas, or, for a Guardsman, what are they looking at? So
the senior leadership of SAMs will tell you that there is no quota for the admissions into SAMs. So with that, what that means is that really they are selecting the best performers and the ones who will make that will compose the best well-rounded class for that academic year.
Okay.
So that's really determined by the board who goes through the application screening process of all the candidates, and then based on that, they determine who the best performers for that upcoming academic year will be.
Nice.
So really there is no quota for how many National Guard officers will be accepted every year. It can be as little as 1. It can be as many as 9. I think that's the most that we've had in any one given year.
Okay.
But yeah, it's really all based on the performance of that application population and how well the board determines they'll work together.
So then, getting into SAMS itself then, right? You said 10-month program. What was the day-to-day like for you once you started that program? Or can you kind of walk us through the course a little bit?
Yeah, so the course changes really based on who's the director at the time, and then who the faculty are on at the school. So my SAMS experience will be different from what Lieutenant General Jensen's SAMS experience was when he went through in 2002, and everything in between. But generally what the curriculum consists of, it consists of some foundational theory that focuses on war and warfare. So you'll study some classical theorists such as Karl von Clausewitz or Jomini, Sun Tzu, and then some other classical theorists as well. You'll learn some newer concepts during that time. You'll also do some coursework that looks at geographic areas and allies and adversaries. And then you'll do some historical campaign studies as well, looking back to the Revolutionary War, all the way up to the present day, and study those in depth as far as the history behind them, some of the theories that underlie how they employ doctrine, how they execute operations, and those kind of things there. As far as a typical day at SAMS, it really kind of depends on which block of instruction that you're in. I can say that at the very beginning of the course, I was reading a lot. I would say... I was
going to say, that's the only thing I've heard is like from people in SAMS saying like, oh, they show me this pile of books and like every day,
It is a lot of reading. It is something that you do have to train up for. As soon as you start the course, you'll read a book called Young Men and Fire by Norman Maclean. He also wrote River Runs Through It. So that book is about 300 pages, but most lessons will range anywhere from 150 to about 250 pages per lesson. So training up to be able to read that much is definitely a skill that you will learn early on in the course.
Are you doing that like every day, or what is that looking like?
Typically, you'll do that at least three days a week. You'll have a lesson where you'll read and prep for that lesson, and then when you get to class at 8:30 in the morning, you'll have discussions with your seminar that will focus on the history, theory, and doctrine that underlines what you just read and how it applies to your profession and how you'll end up using it as a planner. And then from there, you'll usually break for the day around noon, and then you have the rest of the afternoon to study, which will include reading, which will include some writing, and then some research that you'll do for your monograph that you'll write as part of the graduation requirement.
And can you explain what that is for people who are unfamiliar?
Yeah, so the monograph is essentially it's a research paper similar to a thesis. It's just got a few different requirements that separate it from a formal thesis. But the purpose of the monograph is for you to demonstrate your ability to research a topic that relates back to operational art, like we talked about. You really aren't really limited on what you want to research. Really, anything that interests you that relates back to the profession of arms, and then and operations and strategy is what you can research, and that's a year-long project that you'll work on in conjunction with your daily studies that you'll do as part of the course.
Now, is there academic credentials that come with graduating SAMs or credits towards anything? I know you mentioned one of the follow-on programs is like a PhD, three-year program, but for SAMs itself, are there credentials that come with it or no?
Yes, so everyone who graduates from the Advanced Military Studies program, as well as the senior course, will earn the Masters of Arts in Military Operations.
Okay.
And then you also earn the additional skill identifier of 6 Sierra, which is Operational Planner, and that qualifies you to serve at division staff level in the plans section, as well as at combatant command levels in their plans divisions as well.
So what was like the most memorable moment for you in SAMs then? Was there a moment that stuck out where you're like, whether it was like a lessons learned or something that you kind of found interesting?
I think my most memorable moment in SAMs was going on the staff ride to Vicksburg, Mississippi.
Okay.
So this staff ride focused on the Battle of Vicksburg, which involved Pemberton from the Confederate Army, and then Ulysses S. Grant, and the siege of Vicksburg at the time. And for me, it was a great opportunity to go outside the classroom with my seminar, who we all, we became great friends. We still keep in touch with each other to this day, and really get to walk the land and beyond just what was on the books. So we got to walk in the hot weather of Mississippi and get to see a lot of those stands where the battles took place, and be able to relate back to what we had read in the books and see in real life. These are how these senior leaders made their decisions in those moments, and really just the camaraderie that came with it, being able to see the town of Vicksburg, and being able to get to know my seminar mates much better was really one of my most memorable moments.
So you were talking about credentialing. You get the master's in military studies, and then you mentioned these other programs that follow on SAMs. Are those programs where, like, if you're a SAMs graduate, you're eligible to go to the next level of programming, or is it, hey, I'm a lieutenant colonel following War College, now I can apply for this program as well? How does that work?
So it doesn't quite make you eligible per se. It makes you more competitive for a lot of those positions there. Yeah, so having the 6 Sierra ASI really is most relevant to the Army when it comes to working in certain positions at the Army level and at the Army command level. But what will really speak the most is one, having SAMs on your resume, and then having done a solid performance in your utilization tour, whatever that might be. So being able to perform really well as a division planner or a corps level planner will make you more competitive as you go to compete for joint duty assignments or OSD level assignments as well at the Office of Secretary of Defense. Those are really the things that will set you apart from your peers there.
So if I'm really wanting to be competitive going into SAMs, you talked about some of the preparation a little bit. Like, what are some things that I can do, you know, as a mid-grade captain or even a junior major, right, to really set myself up for success as I go into this application window?
What I would recommend for senior level captains who are completing their career course or might be completing company command is to start studying for their intermediate level education. So begin studying the foundational doctrine, which includes Army Doctrine of Publication 1, which is the Army, and then ADP 3.0, which is operations. Those will be the core. That will be the core material that you will have to demonstrate your knowledge in when you apply to SAMs. So start studying those things there. Start reading as well. So I would start with the foundational classical theorists, if you want to call it that. So On War by Karl von Clausewitz is a core reading that you will do at SAMs. The Art of War by Baron de Jomini is kind of the antithesis to Clausewitz, which offers a different opinion on war, as well as Sun Tzu and then other classical theorists there. Read some military history. Just get used to reading. And as you read, make sure that you write down your thoughts because when you read that much, you really need to compose what you just read and how it makes you think and what it means to you. Understand the meaning of to you as an officer and to the profession is what you really have to demonstrate when you apply to SAMs, and then if you do get accepted to SAMs, how you will apply that education.
That's a really interesting note. Is that so? When you were doing a lot of your reading in SAMs, you know, what did you know, did you have any tips or tricks that you used to help you comprehend like so much information, you know, on an ongoing basis for 10 months?
So for me, one thing that helped a lot when it came to reading and writing was taking notes, having a good note-taking system. So I used a combination of OneNote on my laptop to make sure that I kept everything organized and could type as I was sitting in the seminar during the discussions. I could also use my notes to help me build my essays, build the outlines for the essays that I have to write, because you have to write multiple essays in each block in addition to your monograph.
Nice.
And then just having a note card system as well as I read through each of the books. So I read maybe a chapter at a time or 20 pages at a time, take notes on the main ideas from the chapters, and then piece those things together and write kind of a summary of what the main ideas of those chapters were.
So when you're doing these notes, do you take notes and highlight a lot when you read, like in the books themselves, or are you doing everything external?
I do, yeah. I do take a lot of notes in the books and highlight everything. I'm a big proponent of hard copy books. Sometimes that's not always the case, just based on the availability of some books. But you can highlight in a lot of electronic apps as well, which is good, and you can also take notes that way too. But yeah, I definitely prefer hard copy books. That way I can easily reference them and I can have them open there in front of me while I work on essays and other writing.
So you mentioned the essays we're going to write, and then you mentioned the monograph. For this monograph, you said it was kind of like a thesis, but not really. You know, what is the size and scope of that project?
So the size and scope, really, the length of most monographs ranges anywhere from I'd say 60 to 80 pages. 10,000 words at least. The scope really depends on what topic you're researching. You can have a very focused research topic that looks at a very short period of time in a given campaign or a given event, or you can broaden that scope to look at an entire conflict as well and compare it to other conflicts. But really, it depends on your comfort level with researching, as well as what is feasible to that research topic. The good thing is you'll have a PhD who is going to be assigned to you, who will be your monograph chair.
Okay.
That PhD will help guide you through the research process and will help edit your papers as you go along, and help set you up for success. And they will also, and if you have no idea what you want to research, they have a lot of ideas that they can give you that might be of interest to them and might be of interest to you as well.
Yeah. What was your project on, if you don't mind me asking?
So I researched reconstitution operations among multinational divisions. So
Okay.
yeah, so this was a case study a comparative case study that I did using two different task forces, one from World War I, the other from World War II. So the first case study looked at the 93rd Division, which was an all-black division during World War I. It was one of two all-black divisions during the First World War, and they were aligned with the French Army, and they helped to reconstitute several of the French divisions by embedding directly with those formations there, and they really were able to to integrate very well, just based on language commonalities, culture, and then interoperability of systems and training and those kinds of things there. The second case study I looked at was the Burma campaign, which involved Merrill's Marauders, which was the 5307th Composite Unit, which eventually became the Mars Task Force. That unit was constituted using a National Guard unit, actually the 124th Cavalry Regiment, as well as a regiment from the Chinese Army, and then a group of guerrilla fighters from Burma. So creating this multinational task force reconstituted to be able to continue the fight is what I looked at from the tactical lens, and where I kind of also researched was, what decisions were made at the senior leader level that enabled that reconstitution operation to happen.
So one of the other things that was we had talked about before we started the podcast here, and I wanted to bring everyone else in on, was the preparatory program that the National Guard is doing now. Can you kind of explain what that is? At what point does that take place, and how does that function as a lead into SAMs?
So the preparatory program was started around 2017.
Okay.
It was started by a handful of Title 32 National Guardsmen, as well as a couple of Title 10 AGR Guardsmen as well. And what this seminar focused on was preparing National Guard officers for the application process to SAMs. Originally it was held at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, on site at the Command General Staff College, and it included an overview of the school, which was given by the SAMS faculty, as well as some senior leader remarks from general officers in the National Guard. This included Major General James Taylor, who was the first Army National Guard SAMS graduate in 2000. As well as Lieutenant General Jensen, current director of the Army National Guard. So getting their involvement and their support was definitely helpful for the program to not only spread the word, but also get senior leaders and senior raters to support their best performers to apply to the school. But what the seminar includes right now is in addition to an overview of the school, it includes preparation for the standardized test, which includes the multiple choice questions on history, geopolitics, and doctrine, as well as the written essay that's part of that test there. We also go over some preparation and some tips for doing well in the interview, because part of the application includes an interview with the SAMS faculty, so they can kind of feel out how well you'll perform in your seminar, as well as and it also includes some tips for talking with your rating chain, to include your rater and your senior rater and your chain of command, on how they can write a solid letter of recommendation for you. the responsibilities from the rating chain include, one, making sure that your OERs are submitted on time and accurately recognize your performance and your potential for success. And then the supervisor letter of recommendation provides a snapshot to the SAMS faculty of how you're performing right now and what your potential for success at the school.
So how long is the prep seminar?
The prep seminar is usually 2 to 3 days.
Okay, so it's, and who's able to attend? Is it just people that are interested? You have to be selected, or how does that work?
So the seminar is open to all captains and majors across
really?
the Army National Guard. It doesn't matter your ILE completion status. You don't even have to be enrolled in ILE at the time. But if you're a captain or a major and you want to go to SAMS, you are welcome to attend.
Really?
You just register through your state G3, and we put out guidance each year, at least twice a year, with the application instructions.
And where does that guidance typically go?
So the guidance is published in the base order guidance put out from Army National Guard G3,
Okay.
which includes instructions for applying, as well as some instructions for what will qualify you to apply to the actual school. But as far as attending the prep seminar, really you just have to be motivated, and you have to want to have an interest and intent to apply to SAMS.
Nice. So, we've talked a little bit about SAMS, right? We talked some about now the prep program to help get National Guardsmen into SAMS. A little bit about your experience, some of the unique opportunities you had right directly following SAMS in your utilization tour. I guess, do you have any last thoughts or pieces of advice you'd like to give for those listening that are interested in potentially going down the same path that you already went?
Yeah, so my advice to everyone who's listening is always have a never quit attitude. Throughout the entire process, whether you're applying to SAMS or thinking about applying to SAMS, or even as you're going throughout your military career, always have an attitude of I will never quit. Because the honest truth with SAMS is that it is a very competitive school. It is very hard to get into, and as the class size shrinks from what it used to be, there are less seats overall, which makes it that much more competitive. And the peers that you will compete against in order to get in the school are just as motivated as you, if not more, and they might know things that you don't, but at the same time you might know things that they don't. But you have to be able to work together, and you have to be able to apply your knowledge and demonstrate what you've learned in order to be successful. So always have a never quit attitude throughout the entire process. The other part is to be humble.
Okay.
Because like I said, with when you get to SAMS, you will not know everything, and you will not leave SAMS knowing everything either. But you will have something that you can offer to the group that someone else in the group or others in the group do not know, or they need in order to make themselves better as well, in order to make the collective group successful. So be humble, be honest with yourself as far as what you do know and what you don't know. Understand what you need to do to prepare. Have the conversation with your rater and your senior rater. Always stay in touch with your chain of command, and make sure that you express your interest in SAMS and what you can do to make yourself better and make the organization better.
Sir, thank you for joining us and sharing some of your thoughts today and experiences, and look forward to talking to you next time.
Thanks for having me.
If you would like more information on any of the topics discussed today, please visit our social media pages in the links below, or search Leaders Recon on any of your favorite platforms. If you liked today's episode, please don't forget to subscribe below and leave us a 5-star review. You can find us wherever you listen to your favorite podcast.